There are three new tropical surges from Storm, but that's not really the big news here. The big news is where they're being poured. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about the three new colorways, what they mean, how different they are from old tropical surges, but really, where are they being poured and why did things flip around? If you're new here, I'd really appreciate a subscription. We just hit 10,000 subscribers. Huge thank you to everybody on that one. We have the latest bowling news, bowling ball news, bowling discontinued news, a little bit of everything and everything to try to help you become a better bowler and improve just the overall education of the community. Last week, Storm surprisingly announced three new tropical surge colorways. However, a couple of them were just recently discontinued. This usually happens at this time of year where a lot of the entry level balls from different companies get refreshed with new colorways, new options, things like that. So, Storm had three new tropical surges announced. We're going to go through those quick. We have the red, white, and purple. This one has a red hot cinnamon fragrance. So, if you want it to smell like Fireball, I guess buy this one. That one's a reactor pearl cover. Then we have the black blue pink, which is vanilla cupcake. And then we have the silver purple, which is my personal favorite of root beer float. Now, the black blue pink is actually a shiny solid, but then the silver purple is a shiny pearl. Now, this is very normal for the tropical surges. There's usually most of them are pearls. One of them will be a shiny weak solid. This isn't any big news at the end of the day. These are just different colors. But what the big news is where they're being poured. So in the last round of tropical surges, there was one special one that got released that everybody that I knew of adored, and that was a purple one. There was a solid purple tropical surge, came out of the box at 2,000 or 3,000 grit, and that was adored by so many people. There were so many tournament bowlers that actually picked up this tropical surge, threw it in tournaments because it actually looked really good. It was like a baby IQ. It reminded me of what the Now Hustle Earth looks like. However, that was being poured in Utah, the first tropical surge to be poured in Utah in a very, very long time. Because the ball was being poured in Utah, it actually took one line away from creating other bowling balls from Storm products. And that ended up being an issue because this tropical surge that was being poured in Utah actually ended up not selling well at all. So unfortunately, it wasn't worth it for Storm to continue to pour this ball in Utah because they were not making enough money off of it. So they switched that line back over to some of their other regular bowling balls, you know, the Rock Stars, the Phase 2s, the Ion Maxes, things like that, because those sell much, much better than this solid tropical surge was. Now, the other tropical surges that were not this solid version were and always have been poured in China. They were poured in China for the longest time, but due to the tariff situation, the Storm wanted to move their surges somewhere else. They ended up moving them down to Mexico. So all tropical surges now, the ones that are in production, are being poured in Mexico alongside Brunswick bowling balls. This is a fairly common occurrence. A lot of plastic balls are poured in very similar locations, just like a lot of your other products that come from overseas. A lot of different brands get made in the same location. They just get a different brand stamped on them. So that's what's happening with these new tropical surges, is there is a complete flip of where they're being produced. Now, this is a really sad thing in one way because I thought that tropical surge solid was amazing. I really liked it. I'm tempted to find one myself. And I was really hoping sales were going to be high enough to warrant having one tropical surge being poured in Utah to be that slightly higher price, not higher price, but higher quality, little higher hook potential that would actually be usable. Because at the end of the day, surges are really not usable for the general public. Yes, there's going to be a good amount of people out there who are pretty rev dominant, who are going to like their tropical surges, and that is absolutely a-okay. But a good amount of, say, tournament bowlers, I mean, PBA bowlers, amateur bowlers, they don't own tropical surges. They never drill one. A lot of Storm staffers never drill tropical surges. So it's very, very unfortunate that that ball didn't sell well enough. I'd recommend, if you can find one of those, I'd recommend picking one up. However, the new surges, the new colorways, just like all the old tropical surges, are going to be just typical reactor pearl, nothing too crazy in the formula, nothing too crazy in the hook potential. We are going to see differences. Whenever you move bowling balls from one location to another, there are always differences. For example, when Ebonite, original Ebonite before Brunswick bottomed out, was pouring purple hammers, they hooked miles, absolute miles. However, when they started producing them down in Mexico after Brunswick purchased ebonite when they were on the verge of bankruptcy, the purples weren't as good. They started hooking a little bit later. They were a little bit harder coming out of the plant. So wherever you make it based on, weather conditions or controls in the factory, or just the factory itself, can change the reaction. So will these new surges be different than the ones produced in China? Probably. How are we really going to know it? Do we have many good examples to be able to compare them against? Not really. So hopefully there's going to be some videos out there of somebody who tries doing it. But overall, the new surges are now being poured in Mexico instead of China. Now, I would like to end this. I forgot this on a different video, but remember, Storm bowling balls are otherwise all produced in Utah. All of their regular bowling balls are produced in Utah. Motive is produced in Michigan, and then all of Brunswick bowling balls are all produced in Mexico. So keep that in mind when you're knowing like where bowling balls come from. That is going to do it for today's video. Remember, if you haven't, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on any and all bowling ball news. Otherwise, I will see you on the next one.